Hello and welcome to my May 2020 wrap-up, in which I'm going to tell you about all of the books that I read during the month of May 2020. That's what it says on the tin, really, doesn't it? So the first book I finished reading in May was Your Best Year Ever, a 5-step plan for achieving your most important goals by Michael Hyatt. You may be thinking, number one, Julianne, why are you reading a book on planning your year in May? It's never too late to plan your year. That's all I have to say to that one. And number two, there is no way this is going to be your best year ever. This is nobody's best year ever except maybe Satan's. Yeah, if you said that, I would agree. This year deserves to be in the bin so far. It is terrible. I can't think of any redeeming factors for it, really. No, nothing compensates for how awful it is for a great number of people worldwide right now. But I cannot help but try to make the best of a bad situation because I am a relentless optimist. I have to devote tremendous amounts of energy to trying to be positive because otherwise I'd just be miserable, and I don't want to live that way. For me, it is way too easy to be unhappy, and happiness is something I have to fight for. So, despite everything going on and the fact that it was May, I read this book, and actually it was really good, and I think I will be rereading it or reading parts of it before the end of the year, so when I plan my 2021, which hopefully won't be a year ruled by Satan. It will be a year ruled by literally anybody else. I will be able to plan it, and it will be beautiful and great like my 2020 and everybody else's 2020 should have been. But yeah, basically my main takeaway from this book was to limit your goals, so don't have more than between 7 and 10, to make sure those goals are diverse and varied, so that you're not going in all in on one thing. You've got to set goals throughout for different areas of your life. You know, personally I believe in setting goals for my own happiness, things that I like to do. It's not just all productivity and breaking bad habits and, you know, work goals. My other takeaways is basically his check-in process that he recommends, where every month you do like a monthly check-in, you revisit your goals, you check that you still want to do all those goals, that kind of thing, and then on a weekly basis you pick 3 goals for that week, and then on a daily basis you pick 3 big things that you're going to focus on that day, and that has worked out for me brilliantly. I'm really, really happy with what I've learned from this book. Then we finally get onto fiction. So the first fiction book I read wasn't really a book, it was more of a short story slash novella, and that was Lusus Naturae. That is Latin. I don't know how to pronounce Latin. I went to a comprehensive. What can I say? By Alison Goodman. I think it's Latin? Could be Greek. Again, comprehensive. So yeah, this is like essentially the it's a tie-in to the Dark Days Club series, in which the 2 main characters meet each other for the first time, but the point of view is reversed. So in the book The Dark Days Club, it's told from Lady Helen's perspective, and in this little story whose title I can't pronounce, it's told from Lord Carlston's perspective. So yeah, I mean, it was fine. I just basically wanted to remind myself of the setting of the Dark Days Club so that I could go on to read the 3rd book in the series, because I thought, I've read the first 2, it's only a trilogy, I may as well borrow the 3rd one from the library and get that one off my plate, because it was really bothering me that I hadn't finished reading it. Does anybody else get that with some series, that it really bothers them when they don't finish them, even though they know that they've only got 1 book left? Yeah. So anyway, I don't think there are any other series I'm reading where there's only 1 book left, except maybe The Diviners, and I really want to read that in print or audiobook, so I've got to wait on that one. The next book I finished reading was for my work book club, and that was Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. I think we generally liked this. So essentially it's about a a wealthy white woman who calls her black babysitter to come and get her child like in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m. or something. The babysitter's been out clubbing, so you know she isn't really dressed for it, but she agrees anyway because she absolutely adores this kid, and she takes her to this convenience store where this woman gets suspicious and thinks she's kidnapped the child, and then security gets involved, and this whole incident, and she has to call the child's father to come and help, and it becomes this big thing, and it's basically about the fallout from that, because the babysitter doesn't want to go any further with it. She doesn't want to press charges. She doesn't want to get, she doesn't want to take them to court and sue, but the her white boss wants to. And yeah, it's very interesting. We had some really interesting discussions about it in my book club. So in my book club, I think most of us really liked it. Some people had a couple of issues with it. They didn't find it believable that someone would call a babysitter to take their child at 4 a.m. There is a whole setup for this, but I think this is probably quite an American thing, because I didn't have a problem with it, because I have read other books in which people have phoned babysitters or relatives to take a child out of the house during an argument. You know, I think that's just something that people in Britain don't do. You know, you usually take the child upstairs, or, you know, shut it in its room or something with somebody, rather than take it away from the scene. But yeah, but other than that, really, it led to some really interesting discussions about race and privilege and class, and the way that people see themselves and how they want to be seen, and how sometimes those two things come together in a way that basically means that people delude themselves about who they are. So yeah, it was a good book, and I would especially recommend it if you are looking for something to read at a book club. The next book I finished reading was my first short story collection of the month, and that was Malingering by Susan Compo. I'd read a novel by Susan Compo before, and I remember thinking I liked bits of it but didn't entirely get it, and that is exactly the same here. So it's basically about people in post-punk subcultures in LA and London, and they're kind of stories, they're kind of more little vignettes in places, and there are some recurring characters, but I didn't really get it. So yeah, this isn't one that I will be hanging onto on my bookshelf. I'm looking forward to being able to give it away to somebody else who will hopefully enjoy it more. The next book I finished reading was The Dark Days Deceit. As previously mentioned, I decided this month I just wanted to get this series off my plate, and I thought it brought the whole series together nicely. Essentially, the Dark Days Club series is about Lady Helen, who is in Regency England, and basically discovers that she's a demon hunter, and she has to choose whether to take up her destiny as a demon hunter. And the second book is probably my favourite because it goes a lot into the gender stuff, how difficult she finds it to move through the world as a woman who's demon hunter, and she learns to dress and act as a man in order to be able to disguise herself and move more freely. But yeah, although there wasn't so much of that element in this book, I did really enjoy it, and it all came together nicely, and there were some things that surprised me. The next book I finished reading was Secrets by, I don't know if it's Leslie Newman or Leslia. I don't know how to read the accent, but essentially this is like a, is it 90s? Yeah, this was published in 1990, and it's a collection, as you may guess, themed around secrets. All of the characters have a secret that they're keeping from somebody else, or they're fed up of being a secret, that kind of thing. And some of them are kind of like more literary, and others are more sort of like just kind of like adult contemporary style, which is really interesting to me. A lot of them feature lesbian relationships, so I think this author is mainly known as a lesbian writer, and what I really loved was that it features quite a lot of older women, so women in their 50s and 60s who have either been in lesbian relationships for a long time, or they've only just come out and so they're kind of getting used to it. And that was really brilliant, because obviously as someone who reads a lot of YA, most of the queer literature I read is focused around very young people, people in their teens and early 20s. And so yeah, it was really, really nice to see older characters. And I enjoyed this. It was really fun. The only caveat I would note is that there should be all the content warnings, okay? If you read this, tread really carefully. If you don't want to read about sexual assault, rape, child abuse, because all of these topics do come up in this book. They are mentioned quite early on in the story, before they're sort of before they kind of got into any detail. So you could probably get that far and then stop reading, but I don't know. It just depends on how you feel about these subjects. The next book I finished reading was Boy Queen by George Lester. George is also on YouTube. I have been seeing her at book events for probably like a decade now, and I was really excited to see that he had a book deal and was having a book out, and that it was focusing around drag culture, and I loved it. It's just brilliant. It's so much fun. It's about a boy who doesn't get into drama school. He's like in year 12 at school. He doesn't get into drama school, and he is really miserable. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He just wants to perform, and then one of his friends suggests they go to a drag night to celebrate his birthday, and he just falls completely in love immediately. One as a drag queen just becomes his obsession, and he starts looking at her videos on YouTube, and then she offers to take him under her wing and basically train him up to give his own drag performance. And I just loved it. It was so heartwarming. I loved the relationship between the main character and his mum. It was just brilliant, and all the complications of his friendships. He's in this sort of relationship with this boy who's still in the closet and nobody knows about it, and his friends have like differing opinions on that based on whether they know about other stuff that's happened in his past or not. And I thought he handled all the complications in friendships and different levels of trust really, really brilliantly. I was very, very impressed, and I would really recommend this. Again, as I say, it was so much fun. And the final book I finished reading in May was my final short story collection of the month, and I think the third to last short story collection that I own, which isn't like a collection of folk tales or fairy tales, or that I own that's in this house, because I do have a couple of books at my parents' house, but I can't get to those for obvious reasons. But yeah, Bobcat and Other Stories by Rebecca Lee. This is a literary fiction collection, but whereas a lot of the time with literary fiction, I find that it's really difficult to kind of get and to grasp hold of and to really get the meaning out of it. This was a lot more straightforward, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was my favourite short story collection of the month. And I think I will definitely be rereading it again to try and learn from it and understand more about what makes a short story work this well. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. So that's the end of my May 2020 wrap-up video. Thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. And if you would like to read more books but don't know where to start, I have a free e-course that can help you with that. And if you're thinking during the pandemic, I want to read more books, but I feel bad about the books that are on my shelves. I feel like I'll be putting too much pressure on myself. Don't worry, I cover all that in the course. It'll be fine. Check it out. It's in the description box. So yeah, thank you again. You'll see me again soon. Bye.